My wife hasn't touched me in 3 years and says she's too busy to see a doctor about it, so I went to the club instead, and when I couldn't get it up, I realized I'd just miss who she was before. Posted by you/thearchitect_7. My wife does a physical job. She has a lot of demands on her body. She is still breastfeeding our baby, she does hours of physical labor every day, and by the end of the day, she is beat. I've tried to be understanding, especially with an almost 2-year-old, and not bother her for smash. She's never been the most smashable person, and as the years have gone on, her libido has dwindled a lot. She preferred to just offer Oral-B as often as she felt like it, which worked for me. But now it's months in between. It's causing me to fall back into pornography, which I hate because it makes me depressed and ashamed. We've talked about it 100 times. I don't like when I start to come off as whiny, so I try to be calm and reasonable, but I have needs. She has agreed to at least try, even once a week or once every 2 weeks. Months have gone by. I have to beg. It's pathetic. I'm so lonely. I think about her so much that I'm sitting here with literal blue balls. She said I'd get some last night, but the baby stayed up late. Now it's the next night. The baby went to bed early, but she's conveniently fallen asleep again. I'm crawling in my skin, trying to fend off the urges like an addict. What the hell do I do? Relevant comment. Commenter. Get a babysitter for the night. She'd probably be more in the mood on a date night with no crying child around. OP, I don't think cheating is the answer. Update 1 day later. After considering everyone's advice and reflecting, I had a big talk with my wife. Here's what happened. The deadbeat question. Midday, I asked her if she felt I could be doing more with our son or house upkeep. She said she appreciated me asking but felt we had a good balance. Later that night, I picked up dinner and read more comments. I decided to dig deep. Surprisingly, as I was getting out of the shower, my wife was waiting for me and asked if I wanted Oral-B. She'd known I was wanting since Wednesday, but this was the first good moment with the baby sleeping and no massage work earlier in the day. I told her everything. I apologized for not giving more non-smashable intimacy. I apologized for sometimes feeling frustrated and piling onto the demands she already has. I asked if she was feeling okay in her own body. Surprise for me, she wasn't. She had something going on with her body that I didn't know about, so she's going to see a doctor about it. I asked her if she found it gross or off-putting that I would ask for Oral-B in these tiny windows when the baby is asleep. She said not at all, only that she feels guilty when she doesn't feel up to it, but that it's okay to ask. Then the best part, we had a long chat about prioritizing both solo time and date time. We had really let this thing get away from us, but with our son being old enough, it was time to work on it. We fantasized about doing things together again, even in short windows. We agreed to ease back into our smash life as it came. The second best part, she then gave me the deluxe Oral-B package with all the fixings. She still isn't ready to have her body touched intimately, so we stayed up cuddling and watching a show. Thanks to everyone who told their stories and gave tough but true advice. Everyone who advised me to cheat, rethink your lives. People who pushed me toward pornography are like people pushing beer to an alcoholic. I was clear that it's not good for me. And for the people who had an axe to grind, assuming I'm some slob deadbeat, I'm sorry, truly, that there are so many models of this in your life that it's the first thing you jump to. Me and a lot of men have to do better. Edit. The majority of comments in this thread are about communication, but there's one missing ingredient: self-awareness. You can talk for days and days and still miss your own flaws. Comment. Yay. What a great outcome, and a great example of how to communicate with your partner. Not everything should immediately go to divorce at the first sign of trouble. I wish you guys a successful marriage and your wife good health. Answer. Redditors on their way to ruin a healthy relationship because of the smallest inconvenience. OP. The rush to cheat, open the relationship, hire a smash worker, or buy a plastic vagina. Stuff is wild, man. We have a kid. I believe relationships can and should look a lot of different ways, but goddamn, y'all. Update 2. 1 year later. Vape. It's about to be 3 years without smash with my wife. I went to a strip club a few days ago, and something strange happened. In post 1, I got beat up about pulling my weight in the household, prioritizing non-smashable intimacy, and communicating well. In my second post, we sat down and had a game-changing conversation where I realized my wife had a post-birth exacerbation of a pre-existing condition that made her lady parts. Not great. Since post 2, our lives have only gotten busier and more stressful. Our kid is more of a handful than ever, and there are a variety of homeowner projects that are killing us. It feels like everything is broken around here, and we're stressed. My kid is growing and sleeps in our bed, so I've moved to his bedroom for now. Honestly, it helps everyone sleep better, but needless to say, there is zero smash happening. In post 2, my wife said that while she wasn't ready for smash yet, she'd be as forthcoming as possible with Oral-B when I needed it. I've tried to pick good moments, never on days when she's working hard with her body, only when the house is in order, when she's not on her period, and mostly on days when we've been able to have a little non-smashable intimacy. But it's become this desperate waiting game, trying to find a spare 15 minutes where I don't feel ashamed to ask for some companionship and release. Then I feel like a pervert, trying to pounce on her and beg for a blow. I can count on one hand the times this has happened. She's agreed each time, as we discussed, but it just feels so desperate. Using advice from before, I just asked her straight up. Is this condition you told me about, is that just an excuse because Smash is no longer enjoyable to you? Like, just tell me. She says she just hasn't had time to see a dermatologist. I completely understood. But the lack of Smashable release is twisting my insides. It's making me secretly steal glances at other women, making me feel lecherous and disgusting. Thirst traps are ensnaring me easily. Is creeping back into my periphery. Here's something I know to be true, I will never be unfaithful to this woman. She is the love of my life, and the thought of hurting her is the worst thing I can imagine. She's traveling for a few weeks. Feeling so unbelievably lonely, I went to a strip club. I went to the nicest one in the area and waited for the most attractive woman who was dancing. There she was, a woman who would have been a lifelong fantasy for me. How are you doing tonight? She asks. I admit it, I miss my wife. I'm lonely. She asks if I want to come into the back. Yes. Let's go. She removes her top and begins to gyrate in front of me. I wait for that electric feeling of aliveness to swell up from deep inside me. And there's nothing. I sat with a straight face for 5 minutes, paid her $25, walked out, and came home. My first thought was the obvious one, the one I was testing, that my wife is the only woman in the world I want to be with. Maybe I've aged out of Smashable trysts. I don't know. I'm sitting here today just feeling lost, lonely, and depressed. I'm praying that when our kid moves to their own room, maybe we can begin building a foundation over again. Or maybe this is just it. Maybe we're incompatible, aged out, and that's a wrap. You guys were helpful before. What should I do?